Every year, millions of Americans travel abroad, bringing deeply ingrained habits. How do these behaviors translate when they're in unfamiliar territories? In this video, we explore 15 real-life stories to understand the psychology behind these cross-cultural moments. The answer lies in the lessons learned in Germany. In a quiet German village, an American tourist walked up to a small bakery only to find it closed. Frustrated, he spotted the owner inside prepping dough. He tapped on the window. "It's bad business to close on Sundays. You can make more money." The bakery owner opened the door slightly, hands dusted with flour. "In Germany," she said calmly, "rest is a legal right, a protected day." The American blinked. "But don't you want more profit?" She smiled gently. "Profit is not the purpose of every day. Life needs balance." She pointed to a sign, "Sunday family and rest, no exceptions." The American realized she wasn't being stubborn, she was following a culture that valued people more than revenue. She added, "If everything is open all the time, no one gets to breathe." The door closed softly, and for once, the American had no comeback. At a German restaurant, an American waved to the waiter. "Can I get a free refill?" he asked casually. The waiter paused, surprised. "In Germany, refills are not free," he said. "Why not? It's just water. We do it all the time back home," the American replied. The waiter nodded respectfully. "Water requires filtering, bottling, transporting, cooling. Each liter has an environmental cost." He explained calmly, "Free refills encourage waste. We avoid that." The American sat speechless as the waiter added, "Moderation protects resources." No attitude, no irritation, just quiet environmental logic. The American sipped his drink slowly, suddenly aware that he hadn't asked for water. He had asked someone to ignore a system designed to reduce waste. For the first time, he realized the refill wasn't denied out of stinginess, but out of responsibility. At a sleek German bar, an American traveler tried showing the bartender how we pour drinks back home, suggesting bigger pours and freer whisk movement. The bartender didn't react. Instead, he continued using the measuring jigger, filling each glass to the exact milliliter. The American laughed. "Come on, man, loosen up." The bartender calmly pointed to a printed rule near the register. "Alcohol quantity law, minimum and maximum serving guidelines." Then he added, "Precision ensures fairness." The American watched in shock as every drink came out identical. No waste, no overpour, no inconsistency. For him, a pour was personality. For Germany, it was mathematics. On a quiet train, the American traveler noticed the air conditioner was slightly warmer than he liked. "You guys should complain," he announced, looking around. "In the US, we would demand a new car or at least a refund." The Germans stared at him blankly. One shrugged, another said, "It is warm today." The American pushed harder. "No, seriously, you need to complain. This is unacceptable." The passengers exchanged polite, confused glances. A woman finally spoke. "Why complain when it is just a small inconvenience?" No one joined him. No one backed him up. The Americans sat back in defeat, realizing Germany didn't operate on the American principle of the louder you are, the faster you get service. The American tourist had been in Germany for only a day when he found himself standing in a perfectly organized line at a bakery. Everyone stood patiently, spaced evenly, no pushing, no rushing. But he felt the urge to help. He stepped forward and began loudly explaining how a better queue system used in the US would make things faster, suggesting a second line, a grab-and-go option, and a self-made express path. The Germans turned their heads, confused, not annoyed, just puzzled. One older man finally spoke, calmly. "Sir, we perfected this system decades ago. It works." Another customer pointed to a small sign, "Queue Efficiency Standard, established 1972." The American opened his mouth to argue, but the line moved smoothly without him. In the end, he became the only source of disruption in a system that clearly didn't need fixing. These first moments show a simple truth. When Americans try to teach, improve, or correct everyday German habits, they quickly find that Germans already rely on logic, rules, and quiet efficiency. Instead of emotional pushback, they face calm reactions that expose the gap between overconfidence and expertise. And that silence hits harder than any argument. At a modern Berlin pharmacy, an American insisted the pharmacist was giving him the wrong dosage of a very basic medication. He explained loudly how this is how we do it in the States, tapping the counter with confidence. The pharmacist simply listened, hands folded, not offering a single interruption. Then he turned to the printer, tapped twice, and handed the American a freshly printed medical study. Without raising his voice, he pointed to the highlighted section. This dosage is standard worldwide, including the United States. The American blinked, scanning the paper, realizing his own country was cited in the first paragraph. His argument collapsed in real time. The pharmacist gave a polite nod and went back to sorting inventory, as if the conversation never happened. The American stood there frozen, holding the study like a detention slip. In Germany, facts don't fight, they just win. An American tourist stepped into a quiet history museum, eager to impress his friends with what he learned from TikTok documentaries. When he spotted a medieval artifact, he confidently began explaining its true origin, waving his hands, correcting the German tour guide mid-sentence. Visitors glanced over, sensing a storm building. The guide didn't argue, didn't challenge him, didn't even react emotionally. Instead, she walked over, gently rotated the artifact's placard the right way up, and said in the calmest tone, "Sir, you're reading it upside down." No smirk, no sarcasm, just straight factual correction. The group went silent. The American's voice cracked as he tried to recover with a joke, but the guide had already moved on, seamlessly continuing the tour. His friends avoided eye contact, quietly walking behind her, while he stayed a few steps back, suddenly fascinated with the ceiling. In Germany, knowledge doesn't need volume, just accuracy. On a morning train, an American tapped the German commuter's shoulder. "Hey man, you're standing too close. In the US, we leave more personal space," he said confidently. The German blinked once and replied, calmly, "The recommended distance on public transport is 40 centimeters. He pointed to the floor markings, then added, "You stepped into my space when you turned around." The American froze. The German continued, "Also, during peak hours, personal space regulations adjust. This is peak hour." It wasn't rude. It wasn't emotional. It was pure, precise logic. And suddenly, the American realized he was correcting someone who literally followed spatial rules printed on the train floor. An American at a small German store told the employee, "You need to smile more. That's good customer service." The German nodded politely, then responded, "Our system prioritizes efficiency and accuracy. Smiling is optional." The American laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. The German continued scanning items at a steady, flawless pace. "No mistakes," he added. "That is our service style." The American paused, realizing the line moved faster than any store back home. Germany didn't choose friendliness. They chose speed, and it worked. An American ran toward the departing train, arriving seconds after the doors closed. Furious, he argued with the conductor. "In the US, you wait for the customer. It's called service." The conductor blinked once, checked his watch, and replied in his calm, steady tone, "Sir, this train departs at 14:32. It is 14:32. No apology, no explanation, just fact. The American insisted, "You should have waited. It was only 5 seconds. The conductor opened the small booklet, pointing to an exact regulation. 5 seconds becomes 30. 30 becomes 1 minute. Then 10 trains are late. The American had nothing to say. It wasn't about him. It was about a system that ran like a clock, and he had challenged it at the wrong moment. Cultures don't clash because one is right and the other is wrong. They clash because each side believes its way is normal. Germany's precision, order, and structure come from a long tradition of avoiding chaos, while Americans often value expression, flexibility, and individualism. When these worlds meet, the contrast can feel shocking, funny, or even uncomfortable. But these differences also reveal something deeper. Every culture is trying to solve the same problems, just with different tools. And understanding those tools is how people learn, grow, and travel, not by teaching, but by listening.
Inside a small German supermarket, an American tried breaking the silence by striking up cheerful conversation with the cashier. "You should chat more with customers," he said warmly. "Makes things friendlier, builds connection." The cashier smiled politely, scanning items at a steady, efficient pace. "Talking slows the entire line," she replied softly. "We prioritize flow." The American laughed. "Come on, just a little conversation won't hurt." She finished scanning the entire basket in under 20 seconds. "You see, speed is a service," she said. The American looked back and saw 8 people behind him, all waiting quietly, all grateful for the cashier's silence. No small talk, no delay, just pure efficiency. He stepped aside, realizing that in this store, friendliness meant respecting everyone's time, not taking more of it.
At a German bakery, an American teased the cashier. "You guys should smile more and chat a bit. A little small talk never hurt anyone." The cashier gave a polite nod. "We prefer efficiency," she said. "But it feels cold," the American insisted. A customer behind him stepped forward. "Small talk delays the line," she explained. Another added softly, "We enjoy our silence. It is peaceful." No one argued, no one mocked him. They simply declined the idea in the most polite way possible. The American realized small talk wasn't missing here. It was optional, and no one opted in. While crossing a street, an American waved down a German driver to explain better driving etiquette, lecturing about slower turns and more expressive signals. The driver rolled down the window and, without irritation, began referencing exact traffic laws. Left turns require 30 meters of signal. You were standing at 35. He pointed to a sign indicating regulated turning speeds. This is the standard. No backlash, no raised voice, just pure legal clarity. The American stepped back and realized something. Germans weren't rude drivers, they were rule-driven drivers. And he had tried to correct someone who literally followed the rules printed on the street. In a small German restaurant, an American leaned over the counter and offered the chef some cooking tips he picked up from a TV show. "You should add more seasoning. It brings out the flavor," he said proudly. The chef paused his chopping, looked at him, and replied with a single sentence. "This dish relies on simplicity, not excess." He then explained, calmly and factually, how each ingredient already balanced the dish through traditional technique. No ego, no irritation, just culinary truth. The American tasted the meal later and realized the chef didn't need tips. He needed space. At a public park, an American jogger stopped a German runner to correct his posture. "You're leaning too far forward," he said. "In America, we run more upright." The German listened, nodded, then replied, "Forward lean increases momentum and reduces hip load." He demonstrated slowly, showing how each angle transferred force efficiently. Then he pointed to a diagram on a nearby training board explaining posture biomechanics. The American stood there quietly as the German resumed jogging with smooth, perfect form. It wasn't arrogance, it was anatomy. These moments reveal how German life is built on structure, history, and well-tested logic. When Americans step in with confident suggestions, they're met with calm facts rather than conflict, a cultural difference that can feel cold but is actually deeply practical. And to be fair, Americans are often trying to help in the only way they know, by sharing ideas openly. Sometimes it works, sometimes it clashes, but the intention usually comes from a genuine desire to contribute, even if Germany already has its systems perfected. Want more stories where Americans try to teach the world and get humbled? You know what to do. Hit subscribe.